Okay, hi everyone. Sorry I arrived a bit late. I had to rush up straight from London from a meeting, so I've been ploughing up the M40 trying to get out of there. So my name's Chris Golby. I'm from a company called Evolyst. Basically, my story goes, I actually originally was a research fellow here at Warwick in the IDH, and I did my PhD over here. My PhD was based around software engineering, and it was in working with the Kinect system, which is the camera tied into the Microsoft Xbox, and is around using that to help stroke patients. Actually, I've got a little bit about that, so this is kind of going to be a short talk for about 10 minutes, just about a brief history of kind of where I've come from, how our company was formed, and some of the projects we're doing at the moment. So basically, as I say, I came from a PhD background over here at Warwick, and what I was really interested in was developing the new technologies. Obviously, I worked on a couple of projects, the stroke project. I also worked with Heartlands Hospital in Birmingham on a chest wall detection project, tracking respiratory rates. What I was really interested in at the time was, I found that a lot of healthcare technologies we were developing were very much, there was some great work going on in the research environment, but often the technology struggled to get out of the research environment and into industry and get that across into the healthcare market. So I was really interested in looking into how to develop that. And so what I decided to do was I met Ben, who's our creative director over here, in about 2011. In 2012, we went away and formed Evolyst. And basically what we wanted to do was work with the universities and with the healthcare sector on developing software for healthcare, so looking to combine those great outputs of the research, but looking to get a kind of commercial arm in there at the early stage. And so we were interested in passing that on, basically. So what is it we do then? So effectively what we're really interested in is these three areas at the bottom here. So we're interested in apps. So this is the mobile application side, so your kind of iOS, Android development. We're also interested in healthcare web apps. So that's not your straightforward websites, but actually interactive apps that you're able to carry out certain tasks on. Maybe something along the lines of Facebook and that sort of thing. Maybe not quite as big as Facebook, but along those lines. And then obviously, from my background and new projects we've been involved with, obviously the wearables and sensor side tends to tie into that quite a lot. And I think what's key to what we do over at Evolyst is this kind of collaboration space. So I always think of us as a technology enabler. So we do the kind of professional software development that supports an industry expert. So whether that's someone at a university, a researcher who has a particular idea in an area, maybe it's a medic at a hospital who wants to carry something forwards, or maybe it's a psychologist who has an idea for a certain project. And they should be the real drivers behind the technology, because, you know, the technology has to be a solution for a problem, not a technology looking for a problem. And that can be very key to get that right. And so we come in the fact of trying to work with those people from the outset and try and develop these products and keep it so they're psychologist-led or medical-led and not led by the technologists themselves. And we try to enable that from an early stage. So I was just going to talk you through a couple of projects that we're involved in at the moment. So this is the main one. This is actually the meeting I've just come back from today. So this is a platform, I'd call it, called Slow-Mo. And basically we're working with King's College London and the Helen Hamlin Centre for Design, which is at the Royal College of Art. And what this platform does is, if you suffer from psychosis, paranoid schizophrenia, one of the problems you can have is when you go out into the open world and you have a paranoid thought, then often these thoughts can become very overwhelming to the individual, and they can often struggle to deal with the situation. The thought often kind of overwhelms and swells over them. And so they attend regular therapy sessions which teach them how to cope with that teaches them coping strategies. But obviously one of the problems is that if you're taught a coping strategy, then as a paranoid schizophrenic, you go out into the real world. The first time you have one of those paranoid thoughts, one of the last things you might think to do is think over everything that happened in the therapy session. You're obviously just thinking about the thoughts in hand. You're thinking about somebody following you. I've heard things about planes spying on people, people walking around watching them, bugs in phones, all these sort of things. So people can really struggle to cope with that. And so what the Royal College of Art and King's College were particularly interested in doing was creating this platform to help with this. And so, effectively, there is a web app which is kind of core to the process. And that has a set of 8 sessions on it, which are the therapy sessions. Now, the patient will attend a therapy session with the clinical psychologist, of which case there will be a tutorial on the screen. It's kind of like a standard website. But throughout that tutorial, what they will be doing is entering examples of their own thoughts into the web app. That's stored on a back-end database, a web service. And after the session, they're able to go home, download the app that we've also developed. And what it does is it downloads the thoughts they entered from the tutorial session onto the website. Then throughout that week, they can begin to put in new thoughts they've experienced, and also instances of the same thoughts they've experienced. So obviously then the benefit is that when they go into the next session with the therapist, there are tutorial sessions set up with audio and with video, and some interactive games embedded in it. And then their thoughts that they've had personally throughout the week are then embedded into the tutorials on the website. I don't know, it's probably a good point to ask. Does anybody have any particular questions about that project? No, it's a good start. Okay, so the second project we're working on is an app development project called Health Heroes. It's a project based around healthy eating. And what we've done here is to develop an actual game. There's no pictures of the actual game in here. But effectively, it's looking at, instead of looking at an individual's healthy eating, we're looking at the family unit as a whole. And so what we're doing is saying that, okay, well, if you're on your own and you're typing something into an app, then it can often be very difficult to keep up to date and keep motivated by the goals. But it can be very different if that's put between the different members of the family. And so what happens is the kids have the availability to play a game, and we've developed the game in-house. It's a sort of tapping game with a spaceship. And what it is that you can only collect points for the game if all of the family members are contributing towards the healthy eating. And what we're trying to do is encourage them to just balance their diet as opposed to just calorie count or something along those lines. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to state as well is we are working as well at the moment very heavily on a blog online, Evolyst.com. And you can get access to that, and it talks a lot about our different projects that are going on. And also we're very interested in linking up with guest writers and anybody that would be interested in talking on that site. And we've got a chance of getting some academic content on there, etc. We don't charge or anything like that for being on the site. So if anyone is interested in linking up and looking at getting blogs published, we obviously then promote across our Twitter and Facebook channels, etc., about things that are going on in the industry. And I suppose key to what we're doing at the moment as well is we're very interested in kind of, you know, we've been around for 2 to 3 years now, really 2 years from when we built up. And we've got our first sort of iterations of projects rolling over and going out into mainstream. And what we're really interested in doing is combining with more and more people and more experts in the certain areas and providing those kind of technology platforms and looking to enable us to develop projects or sub-companies that can then be put out into the healthcare sector. And so, obviously, as I said before, collaboration is, again, very key to what we do. So if anyone is interested in talking about linking up on those sort of things, then feel free to talk to me after the presentation. So as I promised, it was quite quick. And And so if you'd like any more information about the company, you can find us on our handles here. And I believe that's the end of the talk.
Do you generate your own revenue, or are you just everything through grant funding at the moment?
No, we do generate our own revenue as well. It's kind of a mix. It comes because they're quite big projects. They work on a project by project basis. So we'd either working with someone to generate grant funding, or we'd work with. It depends really whether the people want to keep the IP wholly themselves, or whether they want to share the IP and work on that way. So it depends really on a project by project basis.
You mentioned obviously your health heroes is obviously through Innovate UK.
Yep.
And obviously you've got partners.
Yep.
Are your partners commercialising that product through a brand of theirs, or is that going to be commercialised to the NHS?
That project particularly, the big partner involved in that is actually Jamie Oliver. And so what's going to happen is we've developed the app at the moment, and in January time they're going to be doing social media promotion. So that will work on the push that way. And then hopefully the idea is, off the back of that social media promotion, to then get a push in the market. And actually, that product is not a pure sort of revenue generation project. It's kind of a social enterprise, although it's not put down as it. So the idea will be that the money coming from that will be rolled back into more research and more development, and linking with different partners on it.
We have a CAMS platform that's launching
Okay.
new year that was through an SBRI funding project.
Okay, yeah.
Too. And we are looking at people who have tools which, do you know what I mean, technically are free, but would be something that CCGs and that would like to promote through obviously schools, etc.
Okay. Great, okay. I'll have to talk to you about it afterwards. Yeah.
In the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned that companies struggle with digital healthcare companies struggle with commercialization. How do you guys dealing with that?
Well, I think one of the big things is is trying to get that input from the word go with the technology. I think a lot of technology companies previously, obviously not all, a lot of technology companies try to develop in-house a core project or a core product and then go and distribute to the NHS, where obviously the NHS has this big drive at the moment towards the co-creation and the co-production side of things, and really that's what we're trying to push towards. And so look, we're not the leading experts in this psychology field or in this medical field, but if we develop the technology for those problems, then we can get buy-in from the start and push in those ways. So that's how we're trying to achieve that.
My question is related to these paranoia CBT and CBT.
Sure.
If you could take me through that process, how it developed. Because you mentioned that we shouldn't develop a technology first to fix the meet the problem with the technology.
Yep.
Was there any evidence before you developed this tool that it will work? Has it been tested first? Because one could do that on the pen and paper, simply. But the reason I'm asking this question, most of my patients have difficulty reading and writing.
Yep.
So when it comes to the reading and writing, they're not that good. They can't actually articulate their inner feeling. They would rather be like to actually talk.
Sure, yeah.
That's my clinical experience. So I don't know whether there is any evidence of trial for this. What tends to happen? People develop a technology, then we evaluate how good the technology is working.
Yep.
What will happen? Those who couldn't read and write, they are not using the technology. Only people who are able to read and write well, they are using the technology. So you develop an evidence, oh, it's working well. But it may not work with the majority of population. It's working with a small chunk of population.
Yeah, sure. So actually with that project, the main bulk of the research behind it comes from King's College London and their Institute of Psychiatry down there. So they kind of came to us saying, look, we really want to develop this platform based on what we teach in our therapy sessions, as we think it would help with the therapy sessions themselves. And you're right, there are options for reading, writing. There's also audio recording in it. So if you've got a microphone hooked up to the computer, then you can record thoughts onto it. And they actually download onto the phone, and you can reference them throughout the week, keep new recordings and add them back, and you can reference them in the web app. So there's kind of a multimodal way of working with it. Yeah, I hope that.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like the first thing is to do a research. First, you need to
Exactly,
evidence, and then this is where I
Exactly, yeah. So that's why that's why I keep stressing we're not the domain experts in this technology development. We have to have a core person who knows the area and is a driver in that area for the product. And they have to be the ones generating the ideas about that area, not the technology trying to find our problem as such.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great.